it for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Stanley pour les Canadiens, le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup!
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro on this Wednesday, September 18th. Thanks for watching, everyone. YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. It is the Sick Podcast. And once again, it's brought to you by several of our proud partners and sponsors, always starting with Energy Transportation Group, a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America, driven to be different. And as I've told you on a couple occasions, you check out Forbes, and they'll tell you that it's one of the top transportation companies to work for in the country, and it's a great spot to start a career. So take a look at their website, Google Ship Energy, and you'll see everything that you have to see. Hello to Mike Cinquino, Sean Girard, and David Grassi. Also, hello to Aldo Geloso and Ted Faraci over at the Geloso Beverage Group, distributors of Bittt Tibi, who launched their new Ultra Lager, refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for hot summer days. 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV. That's not a lot, is it? Per can. Available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. It's ultra light and ultra refreshing. And of course, brought to you in part by Playground. If you're looking for the ultimate entertainment experience, Playground has it all. You'll find gaming, poker, fine dining, live music, DJs, all with unmatched customer service. Why go anywhere else? Just minutes from downtown Montreal, across the Mersey Bridge. Playground, your top destination for fun. All right. Today was the start of Pro Camp, which meant physicals and medicals on the ice as of tomorrow. We had a chance to hear from a couple of people, one of which is Rob Ramage, who's in charge of player development for the Montreal Canadiens. And we talk about young players, we talk about player development, we talk about camp, and we have a chance to talk about even veterans who want to reestablish themselves and show what they got, improve themselves. Can't think of too many people better to talk to than Brian Wilde of Global TV Montreal. Brian, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you? Ready for this?
Very good. Today I want to talk about Kirby Dach because I find that more people are talking about the number one line with Suzuki, Caulfield, and Slafkovsky. A lot of people are talking about the acquisition of Laine. A lot of people are talking about who's going to be the number 6 in the top 6. A lot of people are talking about whether Lane Hutson's going to make the team, and if so, is Mailloux going to make the team as well, and which one of the young defensemen is going to step up. Not too many people are talking about Kirby Dach, who becomes a very, very, very important piece of the puzzle, in my opinion. But before we get to Kirby, earlier today, Rob Ramage had a chance to touch base with members of the media, and he spoke about several Montreal Canadiens prospects. One was Demidov, who we won't spend a lot of time on because he's not here right now, but he said Demidov is really in tune with what's going on. He's very motivated. He's very hungry. He's very he's ready. He's in communication with the Canadiens physical preparator, Dave Lablance, very, very, very often. He also mentioned that Nick Bobrov is in conversation with the SKA head coach very often. He's not too worried about Demidov's ice time right now. He says they should be grateful for everything that's going on and the opportunity that they're giving him. So that's the news on Demidov. We got that out of the way right away. Who I do want to focus on before getting to Dach is Reinbacher. He had some real interesting things to say on Reinbacher. Something to the effect of Reinbacher had a very difficult year last year. The team that he played on in Switzerland, Kloten, had 3 different coaches, 3 different philosophies, 3 different cultures. His team did not make the playoffs. A lot of adversity in that respect. But he said that Reinbacher was mature on the ice, more so than he was off the ice. And 1 year later, the maturity that he's gathered off the ice is on par now with the maturity on the ice. So he's not setting the bar too high. He's not setting it low. He's not putting any pressure. He's basically saying what he should be saying about a young hockey player, right? But talking about just growing a little bit day by day.
And he's a defenseman, and he's very young. So it's pretty simple what the expectation is from a young defenseman at this level. Just keep going through the rounds like Logan Mailloux did. Keep being good at your either junior level, or in this case in Switzerland, then graduate to the American Hockey League, keep doing well there, and then graduate to the NHL. They're going through a process with a young guy. It's completely normal. I don't think there's any concern whatsoever with his play. I watched both the games, the prospect games on the weekend against the Maple Leafs. He was solid. He's not spectacular as a player, but he was solid. So let him become a growth engine in the next year in Laval, and then we'll reassess. I don't think the aspirations for him are super high this year, and that's just fine, because the aspirations for other guys are super high that they are hoping that are going to kick through the gate this year and join the club.
This was not planned, so probably catch you a little bit off guard, but you can handle this, no problem. You've been through a lot worse and a lot more. But the 4 or 5 defensemen in your order, 1 being best, 5 being least best, that you thought stood out in the rookie games on the weekend, and if you can do the same exercise after that with the forwards.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I would say there wasn't really any question that head and shoulders Lane Hutson was the best. He handled himself offensively, which we know, but he also handled himself quite well defensively. I mean, he doesn't really make any errors. I don't know why everybody keeps expecting that he's going to fall apart on the defensive side of the puck. I didn't see it in the 2 games against the Detroit Red Wings. I didn't see it when he was on the ice for 25 minutes at the U20s when America won gold. I didn't see it this weekend. I don't know why people keep looking for it. He seems fine. Second, I am going to go with Logan Mailloux.
Ahead of Engstrom, Ahead of Engstrom.
Yeah, that was a tough one for me because, Engstrom would have been, really close behind there. But I think Mailloux did everything that he was supposed to. I really liked the way he joined the rush. He scored a goal late in game 2 that was really of a high quality. I don't think that he made any mistakes really defensively, which was the knock the year before, that he wouldn't be able to grow his game defensively. And I think he did a tremendous job of growing his game defensively. And he laid out some bodies as well. Now, I did pick Engstrom 3rd there instead of 2nd, which I guess surprised you a little bit for a reason that sometimes I think he floats around a little bit and he isn't sure where he is to be on the defensive side of the puck. But he is really dynamic offensively, and that surprised me. I haven't seen that player a lot compared to the others. So I would say that I was a little bit pleasantly surprised at what he brings to the offensive side of the puck.
Scored a nice goal.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful goal. Yeah. But defensively, I thought sometimes he finds himself a little out of position, and he does chase the game just a little bit. So that's the only reason I put him behind Mailloux, who surprised me defensively with how smart that he was. And then Reinbacher, it's hard for that guy. I mean, he's obviously number 4 there because, the next 2 guys aren't expected to make the NHL at all. I would say he was obviously number 4 there because he's not dynamic. Or if he is dynamic, he's going to show it later. Right now, he's, just doing a lot of little things really well. Like he stands up at the blue line very well. He takes away ice very well. He forces wingers to the boards really well. He's positionally very smart. But, I mean, offensively, he joined 1 rush in the 2nd game, and it went really well for him because it resulted in a goal when he won the blue line in his 1 dynamic offensive play in 2 games. So, therefore, I put him at 4. But, I mean, that doesn't mean he can't be a really solid National Hockey League defenseman because on the other side of the puck, he did, everything right.
2 ways of looking at it, I think, for Reinbacher. I had this conversation with Simon Snake-Boisvert earlier this morning on my radio show on BPM Sport. And Snake said the way Reinbacher played, like he would probably play that way, the same way he would be playing in a playoff game or in a Stanley Cup final. He just tries to play simple. He tries to play a cerebral game. He tries to play a positional game. He tries to play a safe game. Because he was going up against rookies and because he was going up against a lot of players who are never going to play at the National Hockey League level, I would have loved to have seen him try to take over the game and dominate more. He looked like a player who was afraid to make a mistake. And I guess that's kind of normal too. I was hoping to see something else, but you don't make an NHL career in 2 rookie games in the preseason. Pardon me. It's not where a career is made. It's not where a career is lost. So, he's young, and Rome wasn't built in a day. So we'll have to wait and see. At the forward position,
that's just going to be who he is throughout. Yeah. I think Snake makes the point that's very valid. He's the problem is for him is he was taken so high, and generally speaking, there's an offensive upside to taking someone taken as high as 5, right? So the expectation is always going to be that he's supposed to be delivering on that side of the puck, and that's always going to be difficult for him because he's probably not going to be more than I'm going to say 35 point man in the NHL at any time. However, that is a valuable defenseman if no mistakes are being made on the other side of the puck, because at the end of the day, you're also leading the game by 1. You're not always trailing the game by 1. And at a certain point, any head coach knows he needs a guy that he can put out there when he wants to stay up by 1. And he will be that guy.
All right. Okay. How about the forward position?
Owen Beck, to me, was the one that showed that he is an NHL caliber player. Just an extremely heady player. I can see him being a Philip Deneau type, maybe not the same total of 50, 55, 60 points, but somewhere in the neighborhood of 40, and a quintessential third line player, just a super intelligent player. His ability to make plays and see the ice at a very fast pace really stood out for me. The game was slowing down as the 2 games progressed for him. By the end of the second game, it really felt like he had slowed it all down to the point where nothing looked rushed. Everything looked easy. So he would be number 1 for sure. And I really
give him a B plus. I give him a B plus.
Yeah. Did you feel he was number 1 too?
Yeah, I give him at the forward position. I'll give him a B plus. I don't think any forward was an A. I'll give Beck a B plus.
Yeah, and you know what? The rest of them, I really can't say that anyone really stood out for me. I mean, there were good performances there for sure. Like, Kidney looked pretty good. I was pretty impressed with what he did. Heineman's got a great shot, and if he gets to use it at the NHL level, he could pot 15 one year if he gets to use it. But apart from the shot, he wasn't really dynamic either. It was easy to see the last weekend that defensively they had dynamic players, that 3 and 4 really stood out as future NHLers.
Yeah.
But future NHLers offensively, I only see one NHLer there right now. I mean, Philip Machard did not look like an NHLer.
No.
Sean Farrell, he had some nice moments, but he did not look like an NHLer. So defensively, 4 Canadians stood out. Offensively, I thought only 3 players stood out.
I'm going to say
that's
something.
Cowan, Minton, and Beck.
This is probably not fair. Okay, so please, I don't want to be all over social media with this. Okay. I think you're going to understand.
Avoid it if it's going to be controversial.
I think you're going to understand what I'm getting at, right? It's too early for me to predict what Philip Machard's NHL career is going to be. Way too early. I will tell you that I was disappointed on the weekend, even though I said couple of rookie games doesn't make or break a career, but so much has been said about Machard in the last year. A lot of people expected him to play in the American Hockey League last year, and unfortunately he didn't, and he was back in the OHL. And I thought last week was a big week for him. He didn't quite answer the bell. I'm not going to throw in the towel on Philip Machard. I know a lot of people are. No. It's way too early, so I'm not going to do that.
Absolutely.
I'm just, I'm wondering, like, when I see him handling the puck, don't ask me why. I keep thinking of Sven Andrighetto, right? Who obviously did not have a very good NHL career, right? So I'm not telling you that Philip Michar is Sven Andrighetto, and I hope he's not going to be, with all due respect to my people call him Sven. But there's two ways this can go, right? I mean, the kid ends up having a National Hockey League career that's going to be a long one, or he ends up having a National Hockey League career that's going to be a Sven Andrighetto kind of career, and it's not going to last very long. But Andrighetto had skills, but he didn't have all the other intangibles, right? He didn't have anything else. He was, and I'm just
well. Glenn Sather told me a long, long time ago, and I took it to heart when I was in Edmonton, and I was talking about a guy named Jeff Smith, a defender who did everything fairly well. Do you remember the name Jeff Smith? Didn't have much of a career. I liked him. I said, Jeff Smith looks really
I can't
good.
say that it rings a bell right now. I'm not going to lie to you. No. I remember Steve Smith.
No, not that one. Not that one. But anyway, it goes on. Like, I was really high on him, and he said, well, Brian, what does he do that really stands out? What's that one skill that would make him? Like, you got to, and Sather went on to say, you have to have one skill.
They call it the X factor.
Yeah, you got to have one skill. Like, Cole Caulfield's got the shot. It's NHL caliber. It will lead to success. Yeah. Right? This guy's a giant and can handle the puck. It will lead to success. You have to have one thing that stands out. You just can't be fairly good at 7 things. You got to have fairly good at 6 and one thing that you're clearly an NHL caliber. And then your whole career revolves around that one thing that you do extremely well. Well, Philip Michar is supposed to be a great skater, right?
Yeah.
Where is it?
Yeah.
Where is it?
So
where is it? They drafted him because he was supposed to be a great skater.
I love this conversation because this is the thing. You're right. I find Michar does a lot of little things good, but nothing great. That's the problem.
Right.
That's the problem.
And so they drafted him where they drafted him because they thought that he had that one thing that would stand out where he could win speed races, have the puck, skate fast enough to win the race to the goal, win the race to the puck, win the race to the opportunity to shoot. I didn't see him win a race in 2 games, and that's why they drafted him. And that is supposed to be that Glenn Sather one thing that makes you an NHL player. And until he shows that one thing, he won't make the NHL. However, with all of that said, Tony, I think it's really important that we remember his age because, and I know we say this a lot, and we get paid to critique all through their lives, not just when they hit 23. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the leash is long, and we're just saying right now we haven't seen it. That's what I wanted. Everybody that's listening, I want you to understand. This is what I'm saying now because they pay me to talk now. Like, I can't just answer everything that you ask me with, well, he's not 23, so I'm not going to comment yet. That's what we get paid to do. However, with that said, he gets a long leash. Grant McCagg says it best. You get 5 years, and then you're gone. Yeah. And he's on year 2. So let's see what he brings. But right now, I'm not seeing much.
Ramage, before we get to Kirby Dach, Ramage talked about another young player, and he talked about Logan Mailloux, talking about how proud he is of all the adversity that Mailloux's overcome, and said this guy's worked really hard in the last couple of years here, and he really deserved to be, captain on the weekend. And he said, once again, he talked about his work ethic and. I know you had Mailloux at number 2 behind Hudson, but a lot of people look at Mailloux obviously and they say, okay, I this is the whole package here, right? The guy has skating, he has the shot, he has the size, he's a horse, he's a thoroughbred, he can log a lot of minutes. No one expects him to be as offensively dynamic as Hudson, but they expect him to be able to do a lot of stuff very, very good. And when you talk about the X factor, I think the X factor for Mailloux, I think he has it. 1 is his shot. 2 is his size. 3 is
NHL level.
Yeah, and 3 is he's the way he's able to take away space, and if there is space, take it away right away. I mean, his wingspan and everything like that. There's a lot of things that he's going to be able to excel at.
Yeah, absolutely. And the only weakness I would say in his game right now is when the pressure starts to mount in terms of it's 25, 30, 35 seconds in the zone. It's not on the rush. It's not the first move the defenseman has to make if he's trying to contend with F1 on a rush. He handles all of that great. It's only when that pressure starts to go circular. You know what I mean? When the offensive team's got a little bit of a cycle going and you got to make a lot of decisions as a defenseman and they all have to be correct. That's the only time I've seen any weakness, which compared to his days in the Ontario Hockey League is next to nothing. His decision making not that long ago was really not so great. And here's the thing with him, like we're going like this still, eh? Like he's a stock chart still that's started on the bottom left going to the top right. And there's just been no regression whatsoever. It's just been a progression that continues in terms of at a certain point, you always see a guy plateau, right? And you're just wondering where that plateau is going to be. We have not seen his plateau at all. He's just still moving up that chart.
Another guy that could be moving up the chart, but he's going to have to make a move fast, and he's going to have to make it this year. And the only way he's going to have to make it is obviously he's going to have to start by being healthy. Is Kirby Dach, who has been able to do a lot of things, but be able to stay healthy, early on in his young career. But Corey Pronman of The Athletic wrote a piece about a week ago. I know you read it. We talked about it already, where he had the Canadiens in terms of young players in the system that he could see being part of a Stanley Cup winning team. He had the Canadiens at number 9. I know you were very surprised by that. I think you had the Canadiens more like a 3 or 4. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep. 3.
In the same conversation as the Devils and the Ducks and that kind of stuff. But one of the things he talked about is that he didn't think the Canadiens had a number 1 blue liner or maybe even 2 number 1 defensemen or a first pairing D. And number 2 was he talked about Kirby Dach and Kirby's inability to stay healthy. And because of that, put up seasons where he produces. So this is a big year for Kirby Dach. It seems nobody's talked about him. We had a chance to see him when he was healthy. Remember a couple of years ago when he was even playing wing on a line with Caulfield and Suzuki. He looked unbelievable. He looked even unbelievable when they had put him at center, to the point where everyone looked at him. A lot of people looked at him and saw the whole package and started to get pretty excited. I know you were one of those at one point, Brian. Mm-hmm. Do you believe that, because not many people believe what I'm going to ask you, do you believe that Kirby Dach's ceiling is higher than Suzuki's?
Well, Martin St. Louis does. Doesn't he? I mean, he said it basically. I don't remember the exact words he said, but it was pretty close to he has the highest ceiling on the team. It was pretty close to those words. I believe they're about the same. I see Kirby Dach as a point per game player. And I can guarantee you Corey Pronman doesn't, or they wouldn't be 9th. Because, I mean, he basically, when he said that, he was, and he talked about the question mark that is Dach, he was basically saying, I've put the Canadiens 9th, and I'm going to tell you the question mark I have, that's Kirby Dach. So you can put 2 and 2 together to hear from him that he doesn't think that he thinks Kirby Dach is going to be much. I think Kirby Dach is going to be a lot. And, here's the thing that I really want to talk about right now. And in terms of, there's a fallacy. There's a very large prevailing fallacy about what it means to be injury prone. Like Kirby Dach is always spoken of as being injury prone. What Kirby Dach has been so far, Tony, is unlucky. He's been unlucky because injury prone is not what has happened to Kirby Dach, having a wrist injury and having ACL, MCL injury. That's not injury. Injury prone is in terms of, like, if you're a defenseman and you go into the boards all the time with F1 and you don't protect yourself, that's injury prone. Or if you're a forward and you go to block the shot that the defender is taking in the defensive zone and you don't protect yourself at all. You leave your gloves open like this. you're standing in a position that means you're going to take it instead of in your shin pad somewhere much more dangerous. Injury prone is, let's say you're in front of the net and you're just getting hammered and hammered and hammered with a series of cross checks that's going to lead you to be injury prone. Injury prone is Carey Price, whose knees are so bad. To actually do his job correctly, he damages his own knees. It's a long-term repetitive thing. It's your wrist injury that doesn't heal, and now you've lost 10 miles per hour on your slap shot or your wrist shot. Those are injury-prone things that change your career. He hasn't suffered any of those things. If his knee doesn't recover this year, and the ACL and the MCL is weak, then you can start saying he's injury prone. But nothing has happened to that guy is anything but an unlucky fella. Two separate injuries that have nothing to do with each other that were extremely unlucky.
Okay, so you said something 5 minutes ago that I respectfully disagree with, if not anything based on simple stats. And I think you said that you think, to you, Kirby Dach is a point per game player. I'll say that in his 3 years at Saskatoon, call it maybe 2 years and a quarter, because in his first year he played like 19 games. So call it 2 years and a quarter at Saskatoon with the Blades and the WHL, a handful of games with, in the American Hockey League. And then the last 6 seasons in the National Hockey League, none of which he's been able to play more than 70 games. He's only put up more than a point per game or more once in his second full season in the WHL, where he put up 73 points in 62 games. He wasn't able to put it up a point per game in the playoffs. I'll also argue that the WHL is probably the easiest to pick up points out of all the junior leagues in the country. I'd love to say to you that you're right. Kirby Dach is big at 6'4". He's got a real good size at 220. He's, I think, a lot stronger than a lot of people thought he was when he dropped the gloves and he started hammering away. He has real good vision. His hands are soft. Like, I don't know, kind of like Jason Allison soft. Remember how just for a big guy, Jason Allison used to have such small, soft hands? I mean, it took him an hour to go from the red line to the goalie in the shootout, if you can remember that. But
yes,
I'm not ready to say that he's a point per game player. And because of that, I'll tell you that I don't think his ceiling is higher than Nick Suzuki's. Like, let's see if everyone's going to look at his size and some of the intangibles, they'll say yes. But you take a look at what Suzuki did with Guelph, with Owen Sound, with the regular seasons, with the playoffs, with the MVPs, with 33 goals and 77 points last year. Suzuki has picked up points everywhere he's been. Everywhere.
Yeah.
A lot more than Dach.
Yeah,
so I'm not willing to say that Dach's a point per game player.
And the only pushback I can give you on that, and when I say he's a point per game player, I'm saying his potential is that he tops out at that. Okay. And I also agreed with you that I didn't put him higher than Suzuki. But the only pushback I will give you on that is he really hasn't had the opportunity to shine like that. Like the season that he did well, and then he got that he did point per game. Then the next time he's got an opportunity and he hurts himself when he's basically almost the best player at the World Juniors. And then the wrist, and then he's a rookie. And so he's not getting a lot of ice time at that point. Then he does do very well for the Canadiens in that 1 year, but the team is terrible. So nobody is point per game, including Suzuki. But his point per game during that run when he was on the line with them was equal to them. So, when I make this point, I can't look at the past and argue with you. You're completely right. I can only talk about the potential I really believe in. And I'm on the same page as Martin St. Louis about that potential. I think when he gets on the ice, is a guy that moves the puck down the sheet better than anyone on the team. And that includes Suzuki. He moves the puck down the sheet. He's a transition player. better than anyone at the forward position. Will that translate in the second line if he gets little power play time because he'll be on the second unit for the final 40 seconds? Not until he becomes the first line guy, right?
And
this team's not going to be, the second line center isn't getting 82 points on this team.
Yeah.
The first line center couldn't even do it yet.
So let's say your first wave of your power play.
Mm-hmm.
You have Suzuki, Caulfield, and Slav. You have Liney. Mm-hmm. And then they go with a defenseman. Let's just say Lane Hudson starts here. It'll be Lane or Mike Matheson. One will be on the one unit, one will be on the other. Not a lot of people have Kirby Dach on the first unit power play for the Canadiens.
And he was when he got injured. But now they have Laine, and they didn't bring Laine into not playing the first unit power play with that shot, right? And then you're going to have them at opposite sides too. It's going to be dual cannons, and it's going to be really tough to defend. The best power play is the power play that has an option everywhere. As soon as you have a limited option, then everybody knows where to stand.
True,
so
but there's not
always going to Caulfield.
Yeah. There's not going to be a one-timer from the right side of the ice, though. But I think that'll be where Suzuki could be primed for another big year, because last year he's a left-hand. He's a right-hand. He's a right-handed shot, but he's looking for Caulfield on the left-hand side a lot, right? So a lot of teams are preparing for it. They're taking the shot away. So Suzuki with that quick wrist shot is surprising people. He's looking for Caulfield, but then boom, wrist shot on the net, wrist shot on the net, wrist shot on the net. Suzuki this year could be looking for two different people at two different parts of the ice. Maybe one will be on the left side wall. Maybe the other one will be at the left point, for example. And it's another opportunity for Suzuki to be able to shoot the puck and score goals this year.
Right. And Slav's going to be a moose in front of the net. Unmovable.
If Slav can master deflecting pucks.
Deflections. Yeah. So, when that concludes, we see Dach is on the second unit. And I mean, obviously there's limitations for the guy who only gets 35, 40 seconds instead of minute 10, minute 20. So, and then of course you're not playing with as high quality of players either in trying to create and get those points, right? Like if Dach makes a nice pass to Caulfield, it's got a hell of a lot bigger chance of going in than Dach making a nice pass to Newhook.
Yeah. Who does Dach remind you of? Let's say he's healthy. You have a comparable?
Oh, I'm terrible at comparables. No, not really. I he doesn't really remind me of anybody that I can pick out at the moment. No. Just a guy who brings when I think about him, he's just a guy that brings the puck up the ice beautifully, and is not appreciated nearly enough for how great his game is in terms of making sure the puck gets out of your own zone and gets into the other zone. His analytics are outstanding for a reason, and he's not appreciated enough for that.
He reminds me of someone, but one of the players he reminds me of had 3 or 4 seasons where he scored a ton of goals, and I don't think Dach's ever going to do that.
Who?
But I find he kind of has like a Jeff Carter style to him. Right-handed centerman, 6'3", 6'4". But Carter could score goals, though. Carter had seasons with the Flyers where he scored 33, 36, and 46. And he had a season with the Kings where he scored 32. Like, I don't think Kirby Dach's going to do that, like, ever.
Yeah, I was listening to with Eric, you had with Eric, and he talked about what the keys were, and one of them was goaltending. I mean, that's obviously, but like if somebody asked me, what's your number one key? And I'm going to say that the number one key is Kirby Dach, because the second line and third line and the fourth line was 31st in the NHL last year. They were only better than the San Jose Sharks in goal scoring. That's how bad it was. Now you add a second line that is a handful, that is almost equal to the first line. Now the third and the fourth line are loving their matchups.
Yes.
And the whole team is way, way, way better. And so what does the second line revolve around? It revolves around Kirby Dach. Like if he gets 55, 60, 65 points, the Canadiens make the playoffs.
It's funny because I was talking last night to Max Lapierre. Max was a contributor on the Sick podcast last year, for the most part on Tuesday nights after Canadiens games. And I can tell everyone right now that Max will be back. So Max and I think we do it the way you're supposed to do. We help each other out. He comes on my podcast and I go on his. And we're going to do the same thing this year. And Max and I were talking, and we're talking about, whether or not the Canadiens are going to make the playoffs. And most people seem to think that they're not. And I talked about something the other day, which I think is I think it's a realistic approach, right? That I think for the most part, everyone can see the Canadiens picking up one win more per month. So let's, because we got to be very realistic, because in the past, everyone will say, well, he'll have a better season last year. He'll have a better season last year. He'll have a better season. And with that logic, they're going to finish with 150 points, right? It never works out that way. But I think it's safe to say that the Canadiens, based on their young players getting a year older, more experience, starting the season healthy, they acquire Patrick Laine, everyone will be better, blah, 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 blah. They should be good for a win per month more. So October, November, December, January, February, March, that's 6 months. And April is half a month. So put 2 points more per month and 1 point more in April, which is a half month.
89.
That's 13 points. That brings them to 89. Perfect. 89, you don't make the playoffs. At 96, you do. But now, if you're 1 win and 1 tie better per month, you're at 96.
Right. And how many 1-goal games did they lose last year?
More than anybody else.
Exactly.
1 win.
Exactly. And the thing is, if you get
more.
Right. And if you get to all of those 1-goal losses, and you get that 1 more goal, and 236 last year turns into even 76 for 40 more. Now you're in the overtime for that 1 extra point and got a chance for that second point too. So this is a team that scored 2.87-ish. They can turn that into 3.45-ish. It's an entirely different season. And that 40 goals I keep talking about, I don't see how it's so impossible for the doomsayers. 40 extra goals. I just don't see it.
I broke my head last night when I went to bed.
Laine, Hudson.
I broke my head last night when I went to bed. I thought about this for a while. I'm telling you, I didn't sleep last night because after I got off the phone with Max, started doing all these calculations in my head, right? You talked about one of the most important things for you will be Kirby Dach. We can also talk about the power play, a power play that finished 31st, right? If that power play, who, by the way, I think they scored a ridiculously low number of goals last year. I think they scored I don't know, but it was a ridiculously low number, right? But if that power play scores 10 more goals this season, they probably pick up 10 more points just there. So I got to tell you, I'm not ready to count the Canadiens out. I'm not ready to count.
When you lose a quarter of your season to 1-goal losses, it really doesn't take a lot of change. However, when you say, okay, you need that from the power play, why is it better?
What do you mean you need it from the power play?
Well, you need the power play to not be 31st. How does it get to 16th? Where do you see the improvement? Why do you think it can turn around?
Personnel,
St. Louis taking over.
Personnel, healthy Kirby Dach, Lane Hudson, and Patrick Laine. Mm-hmm. Now, it's not to say that none of them are going to get hurt or whatever, but who knows? You knock on wood. But think about this: they didn't have Kirby Dach for the entire season. He played 1 game. They didn't have Patrick Laine. They didn't have Lane Hudson, who may make the team. We'll see. I think he will. Just on that alone, personnel alone, their power play gets better. Not to mention, and this is so important, their number 1 line are 3 players aged 19 to 24. They're nowhere near their prime. Near their prime. And they're going to get so much better. And Caulfield came off a shoulder surgery the year before. So I said this already 3 or 4 times on the podcast, and I'm going to say it again. I'm not ready to count out the Canadiens. I'm not going to give a yes or no right away right now. But to think that 1 win and 1 tie more per month, they make the playoffs with 96 points. I think that's very realistic. I really think they can do that. And, there's a bunch of teams that I don't know. I think there's some teams that are going to drop. And I think the Canadiens could be one of those teams that take advantage.
Yeah, I have them at 88. That's where I'm going. They were 76 last year. Vegas has 76. I'm at 88. Everything really has to come together for 88 to turn into 96. Montembeau's he did 902 last year. He's got to do 902 to 910. That would, be a really good number. And then they wouldn't have to worry about goaltending at all. Dach has to be healthy and contributing like I expect that he can. Cole Caulfield's shooting percentage last year was 8% when he has been historically 12 and his best season 16. He hasn't done an 8 in his life. That's 10 more goals if he just goes back to the mean average of his entire career, whether it be U.S. Development Program, Wisconsin, or the National Hockey League. So that's 10 more goals right there. Laine has to be the player that they traded for. Even if he's in the neighborhood of Vegas's run for him, their over-under is set at 25.5. He achieves that. That's a big number. So that's 25 from him, 10 with just Caulfield finding his old shooting percentage. Slafkovsky at 19, adding 10 in the second half of the season that he putting it together for a whole season. Staying healthy, it can all come together to 96. But I don't want to be that guy, so I'm going to stop at 88.
A shout out to Accident Insurance Solutions. All insurance isn't created equal, and you know where to find the right solution for you. Accident Insurance. Accident doesn't sell insurance. They shop insurance for you to find the right product right on the money, whatever your insurance needs, home, automobile, or business. Call 514-363-3636 or visit their website, accentassurance.com. And reminding everyone, of course, that if you had a chance to PVR it earlier tonight on this Wednesday, September 18, if you didn't watch it yet or PVR'd it, that it was the first episode of the Canadiens TV series on Crave called The Rebuild, La Reconstruction, which I'm sure after you watch all 8 episodes of the series, we'll be able to dissect and talk about and all that stuff. So exciting times ahead for the Montreal Canadiens. Once again, special thanks to our sponsors, Energy Transportation Group, to Tibi, to Playground, and to Accent Insurance Solutions. And special thanks to Brian Wilde of CTV Montreal. Brian, I think we gave a lot of people a lot to think about tonight. I thank you very much for it.
And I thank you too.
Merci beaucoup. If you liked it, comment 6, share with your friends, subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already, and leave us a 5-star review on Apple. It's our way of feeling the love for Shane Gaumont and Master Control. By the way, happy retirement to Chris Weidman, who announced his retirement yesterday. And he had a couple of interesting things to say earlier today also on BPM Spot, and I'm sure we're going to talk about it over the next couple of days right here on the Sick Podcast. Have a good night. I'm Marinaro.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. La Vida TB, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.